What's going on YouTube? Tyson here, and today I'm going to help you decide if you need a phone or a fancy camera to help you get your vlog off the ground. Welcome back everybody. So a little forecast for the day is we're going to be kind of breaking down from a beginner's perspective whether or not you should be using the phone that you already have or investing in a fancier camera to do your vlogging in 2020. Fair warning, this is shot from a beginner's perspective. I'm not a photographer professionally. I have a little bit of knowledge of the basics, but for the most part, I've always just used my phone, so consider that when you're listening to the points that I'm going to make. These are the points that I've come up with when I've kind of gone through and decided what I want from a camera and what each thing offers. So with that said, let me go make coffee and then we'll get this thing going. Okay, so the first area I'm going to dive into is the capture quality. Now, when you think of a phone versus a camera, you're automatically going to think the settings. The phone is going to be much simpler settings, and you probably wouldn't be wrong. With your phone, you're not going to be able to change things like your aperture or your shutter speed for video. There are a lot of advanced settings that you can do for picture taking, but if you're going to be vlogging, then you're not going to have those options. Now, it's arguable if you're actually going to need those things. Point and click simplicity seems to be the way that most people like to shoot. But just remember, if you want full control of a situation or a setting, then you're not going to have those options on your phone. But also, when you're using your phone, you're probably not going to be worried about those kind of things. Now, when using a camera, you're going to be in full control of a situation, whether it be the blurry background effect, lights or darks, how much light you're letting in. Everything that you would want to change, you're going to have full control and be able to do so. As far as capture quality goes, if you've got a phone from the most recent years, you're probably going to be shooting in about the same range. Now, I run an S8 and it actually shoots in 4K from the rear-facing camera, but it doesn't list a frame rate. With something like the Canon M50, you're going to be shooting at 4K in about 24 frames per second, but you're going to experience quite a crop when doing so. One of the areas where you will notice a big difference between your phone or a camera is shooting in low light conditions. Now, Samsung Galaxies are known to have pretty good light sensors, but that's for taking pictures. When you're recording, you'll actually notice a lot of graininess or movement in your shadows, and it becomes obvious really quick. With your camera, you're not going to have that issue as much depending on the camera you get, but you're also going to have full control over the settings to where that's not really an issue. To see what I mean, we're probably going to have to turn off the lights. So, all right, so here is a quick clip from the Canon M50. It's set up for auto mode and auto ISO, but if you notice, the picture is pretty clear. Darks are pretty clear. The background, there's a little noise in the white and in the shadows, but for the most part, you're gonna get a pretty clear picture within your image. Next, we'll head on over to the Samsung Galaxy S8. Now, this picture is awful. It's having a hard time focusing on me, but if you notice in the shadows, there is a lot of noise. The picture is not great, and actually the camera's having a lot of trouble hitting this shot. So definitely something to consider. Okay, so along with shooting in low light conditions, there's also going in and out of overexposed or well lit conditions and how well your cameras will pick up on that. This one kind of surprised me quite a bit. Now the picture of course is amazing with the camera, but the light and dark exposure correction actually takes quite a while to fix itself. Now, over with the Samsung Galaxy S8, it's pretty seamless in the transition. Like, you go from lights to darks, it picks it up, and it changes almost immediately. It's very nice. All right, so the last point I want to touch here is image stabilization. Now, when you're recording on a selfie stick or you're recording with your arm, you bounce a lot. You get a lot of the motion when you walk. Actually, I've recorded quite a few videos where I'm walking and it's bouncy all over the place. Now, the Canon M50, a lot of cameras have built-in stabilization. If you go with a GoPro, I mean, that's top of the line stabilization. You won't feel bounce whatsoever. Again, it depends on how you're going to be shooting, where you're going to be shooting. If you're in your studio and you're set up on a tripod, you're not going to need stabilization. But again, if you're going to be outside walking throughout the city, then it's something you really want to consider. All right, so the next area is sound quality. I'm going to talk mostly about default sound, but it is still something to consider when you're thinking about vlogging or the recording process. So it would seem that in both scenarios, the phone versus the camera, default sound isn't great. You're not going to get the best quality of your voice, and you're also probably going to pick up a lot of sounds in the surrounding area, which is going to cause you to want to invest in mics or some kind of sound equipment to make your sound better. All right, we're going to do a mic check for a Canon M50. We have blowing wind and rustling leaves and background noises, but otherwise there's not a whole lot going on. But this will give some idea of the sounds you'll pick up when you're out and about recording. Right, mic check, mic test for the Samsung Galaxy S8. We don't have the driving car, but we do have the rustling leaves and the wind blowing, which you can probably hear as we go in and out of those areas. Again, sound is one of the most important parts when vlogging, so you kind of want to make sure to get it right. Which kind of moves us into the next area, which is ease of use or accessibility, as I'm kind of calling it. Now, as I was saying, your phone is kind of point and go. There's not too much to learn. You literally click it over to video mode, you press record. You're recording yourself and setting it up for your show. Now with the camera, there are automatic modes. You can point, click, and record, but if you're going to do that, then why invest a camera? Why not just use your cell phone? So another thing to think about here is when you're recording on your phone and you run into an issue or you need a little extra oomph, there's an app for that. There's an app for literally anything. Image quality, processing, you can change the lights and darks or the colors of your videos, or fancy filters. Anything that you could ever really need, there's going to be an app for that. And you can kind of change things on the fly and then just upload them from your phone. When you're working with a camera, it's not going to be that simple. While your camera is going to have the advanced settings, it's still not going to be the same kind of process. You're going to have to access the files from the camera and pull them into the computer. And a computer that's powerful enough to do things like video editing and image processing before you can upload them to the places that you want to. So it is going to be an extra step in the process. With that, most people already have a cell phone. I'm going to say most because there are those that don't, but most people already have a cell phone. You carry it in your pocket. It's with you everywhere you go. It's your phone to pull out and press record. Versus having a camera, it's going to be an additional cost. It's going to be something else to invest in. It's not compact. Cameras aren't something that you can just throw in a pocket. There are exceptions. The new Sony vlogging camera seems to be small enough to fit in your pocket, but again, for the most part, you're going to get a big camera. It's not going to fit in a pocket. You're going to need a backpack or case, some kind of special carrying option, and it's not going to be something that just fits on your body. And there's going to be some setup involved for that, which means that you're also probably going to have to invest more money into something like that, such as a case or backpack or protection equipment of sorts to keep things safe and in place, which kind of rolls into the next point, how expensive the various components are for each. So I bought a little LAV mic for this, and it cost me less than $20. If you're looking at mic options for your camera, these are going to cost you $50, $100 and up. Depending on how good you want to go, these are not inexpensive. And that goes with anything in this category. I bought 3 lenses for my phone and it cost me like $24 versus camera lenses are going to run you $200 or more. The ones that I see on Amazon, $200 to $400, depending on what you're going for. Another point to that is I just dropped this on the ground when I was trying to get it to show you. And nothing. But if you drop a camera lens on the ground, you're probably going to end up wanting to buy a new camera lens. So with a phone, you're going to get out of the process, very minimally. It's not going to cost you a bunch. Whereas a camera is going to be an investment. It's going to be something that you end up spending a good amount of money in. But again, it's going to be a good amount of money in the different scenarios you're going to need to record. So speaking about the various components that you're going to have to buy for your camera, I think it's also important, at least for the social anxiety people, to talk about how noticeable you are going to be in everyday life. This is normal. We live in a selfie world. Everybody has a phone, and People aren't going to think twice about you walking down the street talking to your phone. They probably think you're talking to someone versus your YouTube audience. They're not going to pay much attention to this. People are going to notice this. For one thing, not everybody has a camera. Very few people have a camera with a big shotgun mic attached to it and a big old camera stand. And even furthermore, not many people are pointing that camera at themselves to do the recording. You are going to draw a lot of attention with something like a vlogging camera while you're walking down the street, at least in my hometown. You know, bigger towns, it's becoming more and more normal. People probably won't think about it so much, but in smaller towns, you are going to draw attention to yourself. Now, that being said, I kind of like the idea of holding the camera and having to challenge myself in social situations. But you may not feel the same way as me. So if you're still unsure about yourself, if you're still unsure about being in public holding this giant camera, once again, the cell phone's probably the better way to go. You're not going to draw very much attention with this. Whereas with the camera, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. So that's something to think about when you're making the choice between the phone and a camera. Okay, so the last thing to kind of consider is your future plans, or maybe the potential for what you want to do with these cameras. So if you're just kind of focused on getting your content out and on the internet as quickly as possible, then buy a phone. That's kind of what phones are now. It's just a means to record your content and get it on the web as fast as possible. But if you're looking to maybe do a little bit more and maybe even get professional gigs out of the deal, a standalone camera is going to be your best bet. You'll have full control over all of the settings and, you know, all the things that you need to be able to take professional photographs and maybe even videos. That's not to say that you can't be a professional photographer with just your camera phone, but you just don't see it every day, and there's probably a reason for that. That said, whatever you choose is entirely up to you. To be perfectly honest, the best camera is going to be the one that you have readily available. Most people don't have access to standalone cameras, but they do have a cell phone in their pocket. So the cell phone is going to be their best option. Getting your content out there is going to be more important than getting it perfect. And I think that's why a lot of people choose to use their cell phones versus getting a camera. So I guess that brings up a good question of the week. You know, what do you use? Do you use your phone? Did you get the fancy lenses? Do you have a mic? Or did you make the investment? Are you using a camera? And what kind of camera is it? Leave your responses down in the comments below, and I would love to hear from you and, you know, get back to you. While you're here, give me a thumbs up if I'm doing all right. Subscribe to my channel and press the little bell icon so you get notifications for all my videos. And in the meantime, thank you very much. Have a good week and take it easy. What? I just spilled water all over my lap. Man, I like this. I like this camera. I like it a lot. And press this. Man, what was I? Head down, voice down. How expensive the various components are for each thing. Okay, so which one you should is image processing. One last point in this, stomach, stop. Cool, I forgot where I was gonna go. By the way, Cafe Vita, if you want to sponsor me, I would very much so appreciate it. I love your coffee. Just saying.